All right, so I'm going to do number 3 on slide 3, 4, and 5. So I'll do an example of a cylinder, a cone, and a sphere. So I'll do number 3 from each of those slides. So the very first thing I want you to do on each problem is write the formula. So on number 3 here, this is a cylinder. So the formula is V equals pi r squared h. So that means pi times the radius times the radius times the height. Okay, so the first thing we have to look at is they're telling us that this is 7 feet, but that whole thing right there is going all the way across. That means they're giving us the diameter. I don't want the diameter. I want just the radius. So I'm going to have to cut that guy in half. And half of 7 is 3.5. So I know my radius is 3.5. And although the cylinder is on its side, the 6 is still the height. So this is the height of 6 and the radius is 3.5. And then after that, you just fill it in the right spot. The R, we said the radius is 3.5 and the H is 6. And then you always do exponents first. So I have my calculator over here and I'll do 3.5 times 3.5, which gives me 12.25. 12.25. And then because there's no fraction in this problem, it's just multiplying straight across. We do 12.25 times 6, which will give us 73.5. And we still have a pi there. And that means that we need to multiply 73.5 times 3.14 because that's what we're using for pi. And when I do that, I get 230.79. And remember, we're rounding to the tenths place. So 230.79 is actually going to turn into 230.8 cubic feet. That was a cylinder. Now let's look at the cone. Number 3 on the cone, it looks like the same thing is happening. They're giving us the diameter. You can tell because it's all the way across. I don't care about that. I only care about the radius, which is halfway. So if the diameter is 21, that means the radius is 10.5. Okay, and let's write the formula. The formula is pi r squared h divided by 3. So we're going to fill in the R is 10.5 and the H is 16. And do not forget to write that divided by 3 again. That's a big mistake that my students forget to just write the divided by 3. Okay, so 10.5 times 10.5, that's what we're doing when we square it, is 110.25. And I'm writing this out like this to show you guys each step. Okay, everything in the numerator up in the top, we're going to multiply all of that stuff and we're going to divide by the denominator. Okay, so don't forget, we're dividing by the denominator, we're multiplying all of this stuff up here. So I'm going to do 110.25 times 16 times 3.14 because that is what pi is equivalent to. And then don't forget to hit divided by 3, divided by 3. And all of that works out to 1,846.32. And if we're going to round to the tenths place, that 2 is not big enough to change the 3. So the 3 stays where it is. And that is our answer, 1,846.3. That was our cone. And now let's do our sphere. Okay, so we have number 3. It looks like the same thing. Now it just happened that all these ones that we're doing right now, they gave us the diameter. If they give you the radius, for example, if this picture just showed that this was 7.5, you can use it. You don't have to cut it in half. You only cut it in half if they give you the diameter all the way across. So the radius is 7.5. I just cut the 15 in half. So I'm going to first write my formula for pi r cubed divided by 3. And then I'm going to plug in, the R is the only thing to plug in. We don't have a height for the sphere. So we have 7.5. Okay. And now I'm going to actually, let me Google calculator so you can see what I type in. Okay, so I'm going to do 7.5 times 7.5 times 7.5. This is different than the other ones because the other ones we were just putting to the second power. This sphere is to the third power, so I did it 3 times. And now I have that number, but don't forget, we also still have the 4 and the pi in the numerator. So that means I'm going to take that number and multiply by 4 and multiply by pi, by 3.14. All of those numbers in the denominator, I multiplied, okay? And then what am I going to do with that 3 in the denominator? Divide. Divide by 3 because it's in the denominator. And our answer is 1,766.25, but the 5 is big enough to change the 2 to a 3. So our answer would be 1,766.3 cubic inches. All right, hopefully that helped you. Have fun finding the volume.